All right, thank you. Those who are not presenting, could you please turn off your videos? I'll tell you when to turn it on. Could you please turn off your videos? I'll tell you when to turn it on. Dr. Shanmugam, could you please turn off your video? Dr. Sabiyashi Kundu, please turn off your video. Good evening once again. Good evening, everybody. Please give us just a few more minutes. We will start. Just waiting for Suresa to join. We will, okay. Yeah, Suresa has joined. Yeah, I think we will start. Good evening once again. Thank you all for registering and attending this 1 week national level online faculty development program on Indian knowledge systems, IKS, organized by the UGC Malaviya Mission Teacher Training Center, UGC MMTTC, Gauhati University, and the Internal Quality Assurance Cell of Gauhati University, Gauhati, Assam, in association with IPSR Solutions Limited. Today, we would like to welcome again Dr. Suresh Nambudri, who is the Director of IPSR Solutions Limited and SPO Technologies, Pune. And we would like to welcome all FDP resource persons, managers, directors, principals, vice principals, representatives from management, HODs, IQAC coordinators, and all faculty members. Now, about this FDP, this is a 1 week FDP program with live timings from 7 to 9 p.m. The fee for the LMS access and processing of certificate is ₹500, which you can pay online to the account details, and you have to share the transaction details through WhatsApp to the WhatsApp number I'll put in the chat now. Okay, I'll put the details in the chat. All the participants who have made the payment will receive the LMS access, the video recording for all the days, and provision to download your FTP completion certificate. The procedure for receiving the certificate will be informed to you towards the end of the FDP. That will be tomorrow. If you are unable to attend any of the live session, the recording will be available in the LMS. Now we have shared the LMS access details to the payment till yesterday. So shared the details today. We'll receive the LMS access details later in the evening or by tomorrow. If you have trouble in attending the WebEx online session, you can also join through the YouTube live link. The YouTube link I'll put in the chat now. Okay, so if you have any issues with WebEx, you can join with the YouTube live link. Now, before we move on to the session, if you could all please turn on your videos for a few seconds, we would like to take a screenshot for our documentation purpose. All right, I think you can turn off your videos now. We will move on to today's session. Today's FDP session topic is going to be on Exceed, that is Vikrama, Discipline, Transcendence, Originate, Pratibhā, Original Creative Illumination. This is going to be delivered by Dr. Suresh Nambudiri, who is the Director at IPSR Solutions Limited and SPF Technologies. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Okay, good evening to all. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir, you're audible. Please proceed.
Okay. So, as far as Indian knowledge system is concerned, today is the third session. First day we spoke about Pratibhā. There we discussed about recognition or reclaiming our past. Reclaiming in the sense, we have discussed about 12 different areas, 12 different fields, 12 different war feeling, and we created one war gallery. And we have seen that in that war gallery, it was a big spectrum. It is not only mathematics, astronomy, metallurgy, chemistry, medicine, agriculture, yoga and mindfulness, textile, temple architecture. Then we have seen various fields in which we excel. So our main question that day was that what type of a civilization ensured over 2000 to 3000 years continuously an ecosystem remained, and this ecosystem could develop that type of people. As we discussed earlier, it is not that textile is not coming from sky. It is not getting from a plant. It is actually all these things are man-made and human developed. And what type of means second day we spoke about how these people got produced actually, how these minds got produced. That was our second day's discussion. In second day, we identified certain very important points. Actually, as you know, our objective here, according to the Ministry of Education, Indian knowledge system education or Indian knowledge system training programs are not for glorifying our past. That is what happening in many places. We glorify, we are all happy, go home. That is not the purpose of Indian knowledge system training. And second point is the purpose is not domain locked examples. For example, understand something from temple and search for a temple where we can apply it. It is not. As I was telling you yesterday, the uh, the the samurai sword making technology, they understood the real insights from that, and they deployed that insight across all disciplines. Means samurai sword making technology has gone to Canon for camera making and Yamaha for motorcycle and music instruments. It went to Sony for electronics. In the same way, Confucius theories are the main thing. They are developing BYD, means BYD cars. They started as a battery maker and now they really defeated Tesla. Now this one, Elon Musk has reduced his voice. It is all because Confucius theory. In the similar way, when we are speaking about Indian knowledge system, our objective is not to get some domain locked examples. Our objective is not to to be happy with some old stories. And Indian knowledge system is not the teaching of history. Indian knowledge system, we need to understand, we cannot take those examples and we cannot directly put it into practice in 2026. We can only extract the insights from there, and we have to understand what is necessary in this era, and we must apply that one here. Therefore, our this particular all programs are really curated with this particular objective in mind. This objective in the sense how to take those insights and put it into practice in a generative AI environment. And our prime objective is how to develop students and how to develop faculty members. They are AI irreplaceable. And for that AI irreplaceable, if you see exactly what our ancient Indian, our ancestors used for innovation, those things are remaining. Those things are the correct example now. That is the reason on second day, that is Saturday, we had a discussion on four pillars of tapas. Four pillars of tapas. First point we discussed, make human human. That is the most important point. We have to we have to build the real human capability into our students. Yeah, what are all these real human capabilities? What are the things actually differentiating us Homo sapiens from rest of the species on Earth? Jokingly, I said, no tiger invented missile, no parrot invented Instagram, because we have got something special. So we have come to two very distinctive points. Their first thing is ability for abstract reasoning, and second is ability for articulated speaking. These two are the thing really making us superior. And for this purpose, we have shown that the medical theory, even the Nobel Prize winning 22001, means how they got. There is a particular white highway which is connecting our mouth to our Broca area, that is in the brain. So this connection is the most important thing. This came to be, we came to know about this only very recently, but our ancient Indians, they knew the magical effect of this. So they went ahead, they put the oral tradition and the process of debate, knowledge transfer through debate. These are the two things actually helped to develop us cognitively. And second, we spoke about Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga is a most confused terminology. People relate yoga to gym or whatever we do physical exercise. It is only 1 out of 8. Ashtanga Yoga is one of the rarest process where Bloom's taxonomy is all three domains are combined. All three domains are combined. Yesterday I have shown you through chart how uh, each one of this Ashtanga Yoga, how each one of this are linked to each domain of Bloom's taxonomy. So that is what in this AI era, everyone says like this. Only one way to compete with or complement artificial intelligence is to develop a whole human with all three domains of Bloom's taxonomy capabilities. That is what Ashtanga Yoga is. Third one, we spoke about Adhikara. What is that Adhikara? It is the prerequisites we earned to become something. Means I have shown you example. You take a JEE examination or GATE examination. You take a IAS examination. All these things are, we are not testing Adhikara. Whether that person has got real interest and disposition to become that. That is what in ancient Indian education system, the real thing was Adhikara was tested. Especially, I have shown you the example of Shushruta Samhita. Shushruta is actually starting with how to develop a student to become a surgeon. What are all the Adhikara? Then the fourth point, what I have shown day before yesterday was Samvedana. Samvedana is the most important thing. It is a power of noticing. Power of noticing. Only today I read one article. Means we are number 2 in academic paper publishing, but no innovation. Why? Because we are not problem solvers. Why? We are living in the middle of problems. Even I am sitting in the middle of so many problems. But thing is that why are we noticing that problem? Noticing the problem is the first level of solving the problem. We don't even know how to notice problem. Samvedana specifically says noticing, because noticing a problem is the thing. Then you can actually get whatever you become human, whatever you achieved through Ashtanga Yoga, whatever you developed through Adhikara, everything can be steered, channeled through this Samvedana. So these are the things we discussed. We discussed last 2 days. I specifically told that these are all subjects I take 1 day to explain properly to my satisfaction and to everyone's satisfaction with the artificial intelligence reference. But now with 2 hours, I can only communicate the gist of the thing. Therefore, so much of examples will be missed. So, but I am doing my best. Many of these details I will be keeping there in LMS so that you can have the LMS access. You will get many of these information. And let me tell you, what we are speaking here, this is what they envisaged by Ministry of Education as Indian knowledge system. Because if I am telling this is what Pythagoras theorem, then it is only knowledge. But if I am creating an ecosystem where all of you are going to develop Pythagoras theorem or Udita theorem or Hamda theorem, Sijin theorem, Tingu theorem, then we are actually into Indian knowledge system. We are aiming that. Our objective is not to tell some story and go. We are not here for that. I am not going to glorify anything. I am not going to tell religion here because Indian knowledge system is not about religion. I am not going to unnecessarily speak about Sanskrit. It is not that. It is very specifically said. Indian knowledge system is for all. It is for all Indian languages, English and Sanskrit. So with this introduction, now let us go to today's program. So let me share my slide for the day. Let me share the slide for the day. Pronto. Can you see my screen? Dark screen with a blue arrow.
Yes.
Okay.
The fire reveals the metal's secrets. Observe the simulation. Heat distribution is key.
So this is the third day of our Sthira Sukham Adhyayanam, Indian Knowledge System, applied IQAC for the AI era. Now, let me tell you this. You please see this image. Today we are into a very special topic, and my request is that please pay attention. Like the last 2 days, you are going to carry many things home with today's session. Now, please see that image on the right hand side. You will see a guru, you will see a boy, and what are the things they have? That is what they had. No telescope, no laboratory, no instruments except a stick drawn across sand and a sky patient enough to be watched for 1,000 years. One lamp, two minds, the night. Everything else required was already inside. Today's question is not what they achieved. It is this: how does a civilization with too little produce too much? I repeat, how does a civilization, we were speaking about a civilization yesterday, a civilization that was a fertile ground, and that fertile ground really, really created such a good people. So our objective here, while studying Indian knowledge system, is to learn how to produce such people. If I can tell one sentence, that is the objective of this particular Indian knowledge system, is that to produce such people here. And if we have to produce such people, we should know what were the attributes of those people. So yesterday we discussed what were the attributes of those people and how those people can be produced. So we came to that, making them human to the second one, Ashtanga Yoga, then Adhikara. Why I am repeating? How many times we repeat, it has to go. Why I am sitting here? Because you are all learned teachers, faculty members across India and abroad. And when you learn this, you are going to take it to your family, your classroom, your institutions, and you are going to spread the news, because many people do not tell this, many people do not know this. So here our objective is how to create such people. So we have to understand what are those attributes and how they worked, how they produce those results. That is what today we are going to speak. Last 2 days, first day we created that war gallery. In that war gallery, each one, if you have noticed, each war, we went and checked what was the cognitive ability made them. That is the special thing. What was the cognitive ability required to do that? We really listed it. And yesterday, we have seen that what produced them. So today and tomorrow and the day after, today and tomorrow, we are going to speak about their approach to work. Their approach to work. So today, we are going to speak very specifically about having formed such a people, and now what is their approach to work. So today we are going to see our their approach to work. See, this is our program. Day 1, recognize, that is Pratibhā. Day 2, forge, that is tapas. Day 3, exceed. Today's thing, it is Vikrama. Vikrama means how did ancient Indians succeed where constraint seems to prohibit it. And day 4 is originate, that is Pratibhā. Where did genuinely new ideas come from and what made them possible? Day 5 is regenerate, that is Rana. How did the civilization sustain itself across millennia, and what does it owe the future. So these are the 5 days. So we have completed, recognize that it's a Pratyapijna. Day 2, that is forge, means a tapas. So today it is exceed. What does it by exceed? What is Vikrama? What is Vikrama? I am going to speak about that. So today we are going to speak about Vikrama. Vikrama in the sense of V. V means they go beyond. Krama means step. We are going to speak about our ancient Indian, our ancestors. They, with their constraint, they went steps ahead of the constraint. And how they did that, and what are all the capabilities. And we are going to show this with the case studies and examples. So this is what the point. This is what actually the Indian knowledge system really worked. They didn't cross their legs, and they didn't sit when there were constraints, and they really surpassed the constraint. Now, a sword forged in fire can cut through iron. See, I am a mechanical engineer. I want to tell you that use a lathe, use a milling machine. The tool which cutting the steel is also steel. The tool which cutting the steel is also steel. The difference is the material. I was talking about that spanner example yesterday. So that is whatever you see same, it is not the same. Material is different. That is what we have got IITs, we have got IISc, we have got ISR, we have got NAC, we have got NAR. But the thing is that last 35 to 40 years, we have not produced any knowledge. In this knowledge economy, we didn't produce anything. Why? It is because our system could not change the material of the people. Whatever we did, only the compliance. Every institution is interested in compliance. With the compliance, nothing superior can be built. What we require is a real change in material of the people. That material can be made with this approach of Indian knowledge system. That is what we are sitting here. The fire did not give the sword new material. It changed the material it already had. Yesterday, we spoke about forge. Forge is the forming, and then we spoke about the tapas. Today, we are speaking about the field. We are about to watch what a tapas formed mind, orally trained, tri-domain formed, adhikara verified, pramana disciplined does when the world offers it no resources, no instrument, and no institutional support. In such a situation, how do we do? The answer is the most astonishing intellectual record in the human history. What we are going to speak is the most astonishing intellectual record in the human history. We are sitting with that track record, and now we are sitting with a zero track record. This is why Indian knowledge system we have to apply, and we have to really change our material. It is not the mindset. Nothing is going to change. But with this process, what we have discussed yesterday, that is actually going to change us from the material. Now, today we are going to speak about exceed, Vikrama. That is Vikrama, we are going to speak 4 sections here. One is philosophy of constrained excellence. Constrained excellence, I am going to speak. It is very important. Then section B, mathematics without instruments. Section C, grammar, logic, and linguistic with the constraints. linguistic of constraint. D, synthesis and modern validations. Now, let us go next. So today we are going, first we are going to do section A, the philosophy of constrained excellence. Now the causal claim. On day one, after the war gallery, we asked, how did they do so much with so little? This is what our question. How did they do so much with so little? Yesterday in Tapas gave us the answer, though we did not name it. The treaty, it is the Vikrama. The oral tradition, yoga with the Purna Vikasa, Adhikara, Samvedana, these are all the things we used to train. And our total causal change is like this. Formation, whatever we discussed yesterday, that is going to form the individual. From that, making human oral tradition to Samvedana, we created that, we formed. Then with that Samvedana noticing, then it is, just a minute, constraint, and then to breakthrough. So Vikrama's today's evidence is not the collection of achievement. It is a proof of tapas. Means whatever we do with the tapas, this is a proof. The cognitive infrastructure was built first, and then the application. This is what the important thing. We have to build a cognitive infrastructure. Now just look around all institutions. How many institutions are actually building cognitive infrastructure? We are only building cement and concrete infrastructure. That is not the thing Indian knowledge system wants. So how to watch what follows? What follows today is not a list of achievement to admire. It is a set of cases to examine forensically. I am going to take one by one. I am going to tell you that case by case. How are we going to build that type of students in our institution? How are we going to build that type of faculty members? We are not sitting here and say Indians were brilliant, constraints inspire creativity. No, we are going to speak very specifically that this person formed in this specific way, encountering this specific constraint, produced this specific cognitive response. Then name the mechanism. We are going to tell the mechanism. So this is actually a complete detailing that type of a person is delivering this. As each case is examined, a pattern will accumulate row by row, field by field. You will build the pattern. It will be shown to you completely only at the close. The primary question on every slide, which tapas formation produced this? A second question in every evidence, which Vikrama operation is at work here? I am going to show you this Vikrama that is crossing the constraint. Go beyond the constraint. There are 4 operations. As I have listed those listed 4 pillars yesterday and today, I am going to list those 4 Vikrama operations. These 4 Vikrama operations, once we put, we won't wait for funding to start a project. We won't find for reason. We will actually go for that and we will find breakthrough. The 4 operations are, these are all things our ancestors followed. First one is Viveka, second is Anuvritti, third is Maryada, and the 4th one is Metha. Will be named. I am going to show this individually. We watch which operation appears in which field, and then that is what we are going to show the argument here. Now let us say Vikrama. Vikramena hi sarvatam siddhayanti purushottama. Through Vikrama, through that step beyond, the truly excellent accomplish all purposes. That is what the Vikrama. Why this matters today? The world's greatest knowledge builders did not wait for condition to improve. They changed the conditions from inside through cognitive and material acquisition. That discipline was not accidental. Those things were constructed. So Vikrama means we, beyond, Krama step. The step that exceeds what circumstances permits, not recklessness, disciplined transgression of limits. It is not a reckless thing. Now, I am coming to another very, very important point. It is from Brihandaranya Upanishad. There is neti, neti, that is not this, not this. It is a very heavy sentence. Now you see the image here. There was a world famous, I forgot the name of the sculptor. He specifically said, you know, when I see a stone, I see the sculpture inside. My job is only to remove what is unnecessary. That is what neti, neti. Strip away everything that is not essential until only the irreducible structure remains. Only in this case, this particular sculpture, that is what remains. This is not mysticism. This is the most powerful individual method in the history of ideas. Eliminate the inessential. Whatever remains is the structure. Work with that alone. Neti, neti. Modern name. Maybe Elon Musk will say it as a first principle thinking. Elon Musk didn't invent it. Yajnavalkya did in India. Our ancestor, that belongs to us. The first principle thinking. That is what we spoke from Brihandaranya Upanishad. That is, remove what are the things unnecessary and then what is, eliminate the inessential. So, I will tell you some of the example. Pratibhā trained exactly this, dissolving the surface, that is sandhi, continuous speech, to express underlying structure. Neti, neti is the epistemological discipline. Pratibhā is how it was built into the body. Now, let us go ahead from here. These are all the 5 operations of Vikrama. 5 operations of Vikrama. That is, first, Viveka. Okay, before going there, let me see. India named these 4 cognitive operations first in specific texts with specific Sanskrit terms grounded in verifiable sources. Modern innovation technology has independently rediscovered each one. The Sanskrit name is primary. The English is only a translation. Now, first one is Viveka, discriminative discernment. Don't get worried about this English. I will explain to you properly. What is this Viveka? Discriminative discernment. Perceiving essential structure beneath the surface complexity. The capacity to separate the real from the contingent, to see through the surface of phenomena to the generative rules beneath. So this is Vivekajam Jnanam, knowledge born of, it is discernative discernment. Also, it is in Viveka Chudamani of Adi Shankaracharya. What is the modern panel? What design thinking and computational thinking? Call it as abstraction. Now, what we learned from the day for yesterday, it is Pratibhā trained Viveka on language, dissolving sandhi to find word structure beneath. So Pratyahara extends it to all phenomena, voluntary withdrawal from the surface to essential. So in a nutshell, what is Viveka? Viveka is our ability to perceive the structure beneath the surface. Viveka is the ability to remove what are the things not necessary. So now let us come to the second one, Anuvritti. What is Anuvritti? It is formal recursion, the recurrence of the same operation across scales, the same rule continuing to apply and generate at every level. Applying one operation through infinite iterations to produce complex output from minimal input. Now source, Panini, Ashtatyaya, the technical principle of role carryover, that is anuvritti, that makes the grammar generative. Also, so these are all the basic things. What are all the parallel to that? What computer science calls recursion, what the Kerala schools apply to infinite series. Similarly, on day 2, day 4 yesterday, we spoke about Kanapada, that is a top. Kanavada is anuvritti enacted neurologically. The same forward, backward, forward operation applied at every level until naturalized. AF naturalization is the biological substrate of formal recursion. So first is Viveka, means when we have to progress in whichever discipline we work, these are all the basic 4 operations. These 4 operations can be applied to any discipline and for any invention, any project. So that is why first is Viveka, second is Anuvritti, third one is Maryada, the boundary that defines. All these things are Sanskrit words. I am sure that in most Indian languages, this Maryada, Viveka, and all almost with the same meaning. The limits that defines rather than confines. The constraint as the specification for what excellence required. Not the wall that imprisons, but the brief that makes precision possible. I request each one of you, if you can understand one point from here, this is the very, very important. This I learned from Japanese, this I learned from French people, this I learned from Germans. These are the constraint is the design brief. They always say, constraint is the design brief. Means what is the constraint we have? That is to be addressed. And the design brief in the sense that is to be taken as a problem. That is what we have to solve. So Valmiki Ramayana, Rama as Maryada Purushottama. That is why that Maryada, the one defined by limits into greatness. Also Arthashastra book 2, in that defines Maryada. That is specific, it is not merely compliance. So what Toyota operationalized as just in time, what design thinking calls the constraint as a design brief. Yeah, as a design brief. These are all coming from Maryada. Now, I wanted to tell you that like a journey is the reward. It's a very, very harmless 3 sentence, 3 words. But what is the replication of that? Entire Japanese economy is actually built on this journey is the reward. Entire Apple computer, whether your iPhone or iPad or whatever, everything is built on this particular one sentence. Journey is the reward. If such a sentence can actually build countries and companies, and you have to understand one thing, that Apple computer, that one company's market capitalization on many occasions was bigger than India's GDP. Now Nvidia's market capitalization is bigger than India's GDP. We are 145 crore people, we work together, and their Nvidia company has got more than that. This is what we need to understand. We have to go back to return to the source. We have to return to the source. We have to rework in which we are thinking. As I was telling you yesterday, I read somewhere that 1 lakh or 1.3 lakh crore rupees government is going to give for research. Entire money will be lost if we are not going to change the material of our brain. This is what Indian knowledge system is necessary. This is what our making human and other things are necessary. Otherwise, everything is going to be waste, because we need to build ourselves. And if Confucius theories were there behind BYD, Tencent, and Huawei, etc. If journey is the reward is behind Sony, Yamaha, Citizen, and all those companies, then there are Indian philosophies that is to be taken, internalized by us. And that particular thing, if it is going to our each and every cell, that is going to drive us, and that is going to make Bharat Mata proud. That is what the objective of this. Now coming to to the fourth point, Metha, active retentive computational intelligence. This is a very important point here. Metha, the mind as living generative engine, that is active retentive computational intelligence. The mind as living generative engine, not archive but active instrument, holds, operates upon and generates from what it has absorbed. The trained mind that does not merely store knowledge but deploy it in real time without external reference under pressure. So this is what there is Metha Suktam in Rigveda that to the mind as powerful generative instrument. Also in Taittiriya Upanishad, the world's first graduation address close to Methavi Bhava, become one whose mind is a powerful instrument. Methavi Bhava, that is what written. Become one whose mind is a powerful instrument. Now, what is the parallel? What cognitive science calls expert working, and that is what Kanapadi demonstrates. The Rigveda as an operating system, not a stored text. Now, these are all the things developed by the entire oral tradition. And then okay, let us go from here. The paradox of the constrained mind. Why do this greatest intellectual breakthrough cluster the periods of places of material scarcity? This is what one of the key point. What we are indirectly saying in Vikrama is that necessity is the mother of invention, or necessity is at least to help us to survive. Tomorrow is Pratibhā. That is a point number day 4. We are going to speak about Pratibhā. Pratibhā is the place we are going to put about the techniques for innovation. I am going to speak about academic research. I am going to speak about startup formation. Everything through Indian knowledge system. How are we going to do that? So today, why do the greatest intellectual breakthrough cluster in periods and places of material scarcity? I will tell you one example. One day I was in Honda factory there in Delhi, and with me two or three of my engineering colleagues were there. So we were seeing their Honda car manufacturing facility and all. At that time, one of my colleagues told a Japanese manager, see, we use these things so that the heat from the engine area, it will not come to the means we were representing Tata Group, and from Tata we were there. So we will insulate that heat from entering the car where the passenger people are sitting. Immediately the Japanese manager told that our approach is different. Our approach is we make sure that heat is not generated or generated to the minimum, because we are spending petrol not to create heat. We are spending petrol to make it rotate. So our all energy, everything we will focus in such a way that every drop of petrol pumped to a Honda car, it is not for making heat or noise somewhere. It is actually going to rotate and make the car move. That is a prime objective. This is what exactly why do the greatest intellectual breakthroughs cluster in periods of places of material scarcity? You know that Japan is buying petrol from the same place we are also buying petrol, from Gulf, and they have to carry petrol almost double the distance we carry petrol, but still their petrol prices are lower only comparing to purchasing power parity. But now therefore they value that petrol. They try to make a maximum out of that petrol. So now let us come here. The Indian evidence, no printing press, no telescope, no formal algebra, no institutional budget, yet infinite series calculus, heliocentric intuition, generative grammar. The point we are coming here is that whatever way Japanese used to think, we used to think. Means that was the type of the caliber, that was the type of the capability, that type of a formation did to our ancestors. That type, I am going to show you these things one by one. The cognitive skill constrained us design brief. That is tapas A2. Adhikara, motivation, purity. When the external scaffolding is unavailable, the internally formed mind builds the scaffold. Scaffold from within. See, due to the internet issue, I am going to stop video and I will be using only audio. Sijin sir. Can you hear?
I did hear you. Now I think it's broken. Are you speaking now?
I think you can hear now.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
We can see it.
Okay, so let us go ahead from here. So the Indian evidence is that we had that type of a capability and we had that type of cognitive skill. So now the thing, samvedana and constraint, why the right problems got solved. This is important. Why this noticing? And see, as I was telling you today's news about that one, Indian academic paper publication. Means crores of papers are getting published, but we are not solving the right problem, or whether it is a problem itself, or one thing, it is a bolted problem. So samvedana actually standing for, we should know which problem to be taken, which problem to be solved. So the earlier slide asked, why do the greatest breakthroughs cluster in periods of material scarcity? A prayer question sit underneath one. Why these problems? Of all the open questions available to a tapas formed mind, when I speak about the day for yesterday, they are a tapas formed mind. Why the circle diameter relationship? Why Kerala school? Why they went for? Why they looked at that circle diameter relationship? Whether somebody told them to do? No. Similarly, why the discrepancy between observed planetary movement and inherited cosmological model? Did somebody told them to do? No, they noticed. What is the gap between Sanskrit surface complexity and its generative structure? Panini, whether did somebody told Panini to do that? No. The formation system built the capacity. Samvedana aimed it. That is what the main thing. Nobody told them to do. Their tapas formed mind with the Samvedana steering. They understood really. They felt the need. They felt a gap. That is what we say research gap. They felt this gap. The perpetual architecture formed in tapas through pratyaksha training, ahimsa orientation, rasa formation, and rana relation obligation made certain problems impossible to walk past. This is the point. There are certain problems when you have got that tapas formed mind, when you have got that pratyaksha training, ahimsa orientation, rasa formation, and rana relation obligation made certain problems impossible to walk past. We will stand, we will look, we try to find solution. There are, when we have got such a mind, it is impossible to walk past. When we watch a video, you see a gap. When you travel, you see a gap there. There is something. This is what Samvedana is. The formed perspection found it and would not release it. Found it. It cannot go without solving it. Vikrama is not only how India solved problems under constraint. It is also why India solved the right ones. Vikrama is not about how India solved problems. It is about why India solved the right problems of that time. Now, what are all those problems? And let us see here. He is making this a Delhi pillar, the pillar which was not rested. So, what modern innovation schools rediscovered? Why the word is called rediscovered? Because it was here. 3 decades of innovation research have independently arrived at what India practiced institutionally. Design thinking, you know that IDEO, Stanford Design School, reframe constraints as design parameters, not obstacles. Adhikara of day 2 is the prerequisite. You can only genuinely accept a constraint as brief if your ego is not invested in. You are actually preheated. You are actually made ready for that, disposition for that. Lean methodology of Toyota production system is coming from here. I am not saying that Japanese came and studied our Indian knowledge system and went and started Toyota production system. I am going to show you here certain things verbatim matching with the Toyota production system with our Indian knowledge system. Exactly. I am going to show you, prove it to you. Computational thinking, that is Ping 2006. Abstraction plus recursion plus decomposition. This is what Panini's computational thinking, 2400 years before. My objective is not to glorify. I am saying like that. We are the capable people, and our only thing we are just getting removed from such an exposure. Indian knowledge system actually is that exposure, and then it is coming to Jugaad innovation. I wrote it Jugaad innovation here because in all over the world, at least for half jokingly, people think that some workaround innovation is called Jugaad innovation. What is the main drawback of Jugaad innovation? It is not repeatable because there is no scientific basis for that. It is not repeatable. People say it is frugal, but the thing is like this: making washing machine to make lassi and all. Okay, these are all fine, but it is Jugaad. The West borrowed the Sanskrit word because no English word existed for frugal, creative problem solving under constraint. This is what the Jugaad innovation. So let us see that one. The modern innovation, we had our innovation system. Only thing is that it is not coming out. And now we are coming to the second section, section B, that is mathematics without instrument. First, our section A was philosophy of constrained excellence. We have spoke about the Vikrama operating principle. There are four operating principles of Vikrama. They are the things used for constraint. Now let us come into the mathematics. Mathematics is the purest test of constrained excellence. No materials needed, no laboratory, no instruments, only a trained mind, a problem and a discipline that refuses to accept impossible. Please understand this. A trained mind, that is a tapas trained mind, tapas formed mind, a problem and a discipline that refuses to accept impossible. But we know now the trained mind was not default. It was produced by Kanapada, by Dharana, by Shathartha. Kanapada, we saw yesterday, and Dharana, it is part of, it is the sixth point of Patanjali Muni's Ashtanga Yoga, Dharana. With Dharana, we reach the Dhyana, and by Shastrartha, what? Intense debate, that is Shastrartha, because that is the only area wherever we are in the cognitive zenith. When we are in the cognitive zenith, whatever we listen, whatever we think, it gets engraved into our DNA. Whatever we listen, because we are in that type of a cognitive zenith, and that is the reason oral tradition, the peak, was a Shastartha. That is the peak, oral tradition. And a mind with naturalistic multi-representational reasoning, that is tapas, approaching mathematics without instruments, is not a mind heroically overcoming deprivation. It is a mind deployed exactly in its optimal condition, the condition for which it was formed. So I say, unless we formed our mind, all research budget is waste. Unless we form our mind to that. That is the reason even IITs are not creating good research, because there is no system there like this Indian knowledge system where their brains are getting formed. Brains are not getting formed. We must do that. Now we are coming to this one. Sulba Sutra, sacred purpose as a precision driver. What was the real thing? So Sulba Sutra, manuals for constructing Vedic fire altars with the exact geometry specification. The thing is very simple. Means various shapes should have the same area. Means there is one place it is a round, one place it is a triangle, and this circle and triangle should have the same area. How do you do mathematics? God-fearing people, they were ritualistic. They wanted to really find out. That is the reason. That was a necessity of the mother of invention there. The altars had to be built with exact area. Shape could change, area could not. This forced the calculation of square root of 2, square root of 3 to the high precision. This is what Bauthayana Sulba Sutra. The diagonal of a square produces double the area. This is the Pythagoras theorem, codified in India before Pythagoras was born. It was codified. Cognitive skill. What was the cognitive skill required here? Constrained as brief. Ritual precision drove geometric discovery. See what is that? Ritual precision, that was a driver. It led to geometric discovery. Now let us see the Vikrama operation. What is Vikrama operation? At that time, he never had all facilities. He just had some rope and he just had some stones and a plain ground and this marking with some marker. With this he invented this. Now let us see which are all the Vikrama operation involved in this. One is Maryada, the ritual Maryada. Second is Viveka. It is written in this, the intensity in which it is used, why it is used, why Maryada is spoken first. The ritual requirement for exact area is not a restriction. It is the specification that made irrational geometry necessary. That was Maryada. Second is Viveka. Strip the altar problem to its essential essential structure, area equivalence, ignoring everything else. So this Maryada and Viveka are the key Vikrama operations. You know that there are four Vikrama operations. Out of that, these are the two. Now, apart from this, these are all the operation. And what was the foundation? Tapas formed mind was the foundation. That is yesterday's. I call all that particular four pillar with the make you human. Then it is the Patanjali Ashtanga Yoga. Then the third one is Adhikara. That is a disposition. Fourth one is Samvedana, noticing power. These are all the taught. I call them as tapas. I will call them as total. This is tapas formed mind. So I won't repeat this entire constituents. I will only say tapas formed mind. So tri-domain naturalization, that is Samadhi, Ashtanga Yoga. The Sulbasutra geometry operated with abstract reasoning and embodied spatial execution simultaneously. Precisely the unified cognitive psychomotor state yoga produces. Unified cognitive psychomotor state yoga produces. You know, yoga is one area where all three domains of Bloom's taxonomy no, it is a Ashtanga Yoga is the place where all three domains of Bloom's taxonomy joins, converts. The altar could not be built by theory alone or hand skill alone, only by both at apex together. So this is what Vikrama operations of Sulba Sutra, and what that person who made Sulba Sutra, that is Bauthayana Sulba Sutra. This Bauthayana, what was his capability? What was his Vikrama ability? That is what we discussed here. Now let us go next. Aryabhatta. Here comes Aryabhatta. What a trained mind can see. Everyone had sky. Looking at sky is free. But only why Aryabhatta saw some other thing. That is what we are going to see here. With no instrument except trained observation and mathematics. And his pi, he calculated it to up to 4 decimal places. Pi is equal to 3.1416. Earth rotates on its axis. Stars appear to move because we move. He found. And one more thing we need to understand. India is such a broad-minded, civilized country. So no one got burned by speaking like this, because we got appreciated. Even now we are proud of them. Sidereal day length calculated to within 3 minutes 20 seconds of modern value, with no instrument, with whatever we are seeing on this image. He could sit somewhere, he had a pencil, he had some palm leaf type of some paper to write. Solar year, 365 days, 6 hours, 12 minutes, 30 seconds. Error across a lifetime, undetectable. Error across a millennium of transmission, civilizationally precise. This is what his achievement. What was the cognitive skill this Aryabhatta demonstrated, so that we can take abstraction, memory as computation, mathematical modeling replacing instrumentation. He never had an instrument. That is what the mathematical modeling replacing instrumentation. So this one I can relate to one thing. You know this Apollo, which landed on lunar surface. What my understanding is that there were a group of women. They manually calculated the entire orbit calculations. It's okay. It is very similar to this. Now let us see Vikrama operation. Which are all the Vikrama operation which is involved in this? Viveka and Metha. Viveka stripped the naive perceptual surface, that is star move, to the structural reality. The observer moves. We are on a rotating sphere. Metha, the trained mind as the instrument, decades of absorbed observation, becoming active computation without a single external measuring tool. You will get all details of this one on LMS. I know that this is a little tough, but it is, and we are delivering this in the shortest possible time. So refer to LMS, you will get the details. Now tapas day 2, spontaneous synthesis. This is what spontaneous synthesis. The confidence to follow mathematical reasoning to its structural conclusion without flinching from the counterintuitive is the cognitive act Shraddhartha trained. Aryabhata's heliocentric intuition. See, one thing very important, some people say that Aryabhata invented heliocentric. No, he had that intuition. He has shown it in various places in his writing. Is Shraddhartha level intellectual courage applied to cosmology. Now, Samvedana. Before Aryabhata could calculate the heliocentric model, he first had to notice the discrepancy, the gap between the inherited earth-centered model and what sustained naked eye observation was actually showing. This is what the important thing, Samvedana observation. An unformed eye sees what the tradition expects. This is the important point. An unformed eye sees what the tradition expects. A dhyana trained eye, that is D2 Pratyaksha, that is dhyana trained eye. Pratyaksha as a trained perception sees what is actually there. So this is the difference between tapas formed mind and a normal people. The noticing preceded the mathematics. He noticed first, then mathematics came. Now once again Aryabhata, the sidereal ear, the question, what is the most precise astronomical measurement ever made without an instrument? This is also, record is going to Aryabhata. The Indian evidence, Aryabhata, 499 CE, 365 days, 6 hours, 12 minutes, 30 seconds. This is what his calculation without anything. Modern instrumental value, all supercomputers, 365 days, 6 hours, same, 9 minutes. 12 minutes has become 9 minutes, 9.6 seconds. 3 minutes and few 20 seconds is the difference all these supercomputers could made with this proud Indian Aryabhata. This is what we need to understand. This is what actually our capability is. This is what actually the learning system we should be having. And this is what the learning system actually we are trying to forget. This is what the learning system we are not at all thinking at all. We are not thinking about forming our mind. We are only thinking about accreditation. We are only thinking about some calculation. We are not thinking whether our students' mind, when they entering the college and leaving the college, how much it is actually getting changed. If Indian knowledge system is applied properly, that is what the gain India as a country is going to get. Now the cognitive skill, memory as computation, that is AF naturalization, pratyahara, voluntary attention selection. What is pratyahara? Pratyahara is voluntary attention selection. Whatever is coming in front of me, whatever is listening, whoever friends and relations I have, I am not going to focus on everything. It is voluntary attention selection. Decades of naked eye observation required sustained, disciplined attention across thousands of nights, filtering astronomical signal from perception noise. Pratyahara operationalized as scientific method, voluntary withdrawal from irrelevant stimuli, sustained focus on the chosen object across years and careers. Not one practitioner's discipline, a civilizational habit of attention. So what are all the Vikrama operation which went there? Metha and Maryada, these are the two Vikrama operation. The Metha, the oral transmission system, is the instrument, trained civilization memory, sustaining multi-generational data without paper or device. Then what is Maryada's role? The ritual deadline specified, precision to the minute without the yajna requirement. Approximating calculations would have sufficed. Now we are coming to the real hero. Real hero of Indian mathematics, his name is Brahmagupta. But very difficult to find his name anywhere, even in big scientific institutions. People ask, who is Brahmagupta? He is the emperor of mathematics. Brahmagupta, 598 to 688 CE. Brahmagupta Siddhanta, 628 CE. Rules for zero and negative numbers. He is the person. But a debt minus zero is a debt. A fortune minus zero is a fortune. Zero multiplied by a debt or fortune is zero. All these things we just take for granted. These were Nobel Prize winning discoveries of that time. This seems trivial to us. They were revolutionary. Europe would not formally accept negative numbers until the 17th century. 1000 years. We knew negative numbers. Europeans never knew negative numbers. Then, what was constrained? No philosophical tradition in the West permitted less than nothing as a mathematical entity. They always felt there is nothing less than nothing. Nothing less than nothing. What substituted? Willingness to follow mathematical necessity wherever it led, into the counterintuitive. What was the cognitive skill? Abstraction. Accepting the mathematical necessary regardless of sensory plausibility. What is Vikrama operation? Viveka. This is the only one place, maybe because it is mathematics, that Viveka, this is the only single purest Viveka case in the deck. Vikrama case in the deck. Brahmagupta stripped the sensory surface. A quantity below zero cannot exist. It points to nothing in the physical world, to the algebraic rule structure beneath. See this one. How someone could even think about that? Because we cannot see negative. We can see zero. We can say that it is not there. But how are we going to see negative? How could somebody think about negative? Now we are all conditioned our mind about negative. How someone could think about that? All directed quantities exist on the same number line and their operations follow consistence rule regardless of whether they can be physically pointed to. This is a Pada, the Pada. Meta-linguistic structure awareness, our tapas formed mind. Pada trained the practitioner to dissolve the surface, Sandhi, continuous speech, and attend to the underlying rule structure. Brahmagupta applied the same operation to number, dissolve the sensory surface, and attend to the algebraic rule structure underneath. The operation is identical. The domain is different. That is what important. All these things in Indian knowledge system are not domain locked. They are not domain locked. If we are going to look for same example from the same domain, then we are very much a tunnel vision. Ministry of Education, UGC, AICT, everybody is talking about interdisciplinary research. With the tunnel vision, we cannot. And many places in Indian knowledge system, they are speaking about taking from same domain and putting into another domain. That is not Indian knowledge system. Indian knowledge system is not domain locked. Like journey is the reward can build countries and companies. Similar way, Confucius theorems can build an electric car to 60 infrastructure. That is what we have to see from Indian knowledge system. That is what the power for Indian knowledge system. Now we are bringing to another great person. He is Mahaviracharya. When aesthetics drives mathematics, I told you day before yesterday that this is the only place, our colleges and schools, we start mathematics as mathematics. But in Indian knowledge system, actually mathematics came from language. Mathematics came from ritual. Mathematics came from which is a ritual. Mathematics came from aesthetics. So this is what actually we have got an application and which is coming. So in the case of Mahaviracharya, the Sanskrit poetry has meter. Meter required counting syllables by weight, heavy or light. The mathematics of meter is combinatorics. How many arrangements of n positions are possible? So Mahaviracharya developed permutations, combinations, systematic enumeration of possible spaces, all driven by the need to map the metrical possibilities of Sanskrit words. What was constrained? No theory of probability, no set theory, nothing was there for him. No formal combinatorics tradition. What drove the work? Aesthetics. The need to exhaust all possible metrical forms. What was the cognitive skill required? Transferring formal structure across domains. Aesthetic generating mathematics. See, this is what I am repeating because I have to repeat. I am seeing everywhere people are domain locked. People are domain locked. That is not the thing from Indian knowledge system. Indian knowledge system, it is not knowledge. I told you that if I tell Pythagoras theorem, it is knowledge. If I am creating a situation for creating many such a theorem, that is actually a knowledge system. We are here for the knowledge system. Now, what is the Vikrama operation for that? Anuvritti plus Viveka. These are the two Vikrama operation really helped Mahaviracharya to break the constraint and to create his theorems. So Viveka perceived that the recursive structure of metrical enumeration and recursive structure of mathematical combination are the same structure in different domains. He saw the similarity between these two. I am sure he would have been a literature person writing language, but he saw that one there is a mathematics in that. And the next is Anuvritti. Applied that same recursive step, that is count the arrangements, apply the rule at each scale until the combinatoric system was complete. This is what Mahaviracharya. Just imagine what are all the great things we did. Now we are coming to the Kerala School of Mathematics. Day 1, that is our first day, Pratibhā, named the Kerala School's achievement. Infinite series for trigonometric functions, the mathematical heart of calculus, 200 years before Newton. So today's question is forensic. What formation produced the cognitive architecture for the discovery? Nobody told him, you go and discover. What made them? This is what India is missing. This is what India is missing. Did I tell you that? During my lectures in various colleges, I repeated this in 7 or 8 top institutions of national importance. While addressing, I asked students, how many of you use Instagram? Everybody raise hand. Now I will tell. I will give you 24 hours. Tell me one good additional feature for Instagram. I will give you 1 lakh rupees. 7 or 8 institutions, nobody came to me to take that 1 lakh rupees. But within 2 weeks or 3 weeks, Instagram will come with a new feature. Why? Because we are not getting it. We have computer, we have buildings, we have tar roads, we have greenery, we have 4-star campus, 5-star campus, everybody is getting salary, but we are not getting that idea. Why? This is what actually getting sold by a tapas formed mind. If you are not going to go for the tapas formed mind, 1,30,000 crore or whatever it is going to be waste. So today's question is forensic. What formation produced the cognitive architecture for that discovery? What constraint specified the form it looked? The Kerala school, Madhava of Sangama Grama, it is 14th, 16th century. Infinite series of sine, cosine, arctangent and pi. Nilakanta Somayaji and and Jeshtadeva proves this documented in the Yuktipasa book. No European algebra, no formal limit, theory, no printing press, no institutional funding. What they had, trained mind, palm leaves, and the night sky. Please understand, they had trained minds or formed minds, palm leaves, and the night sky. Cognitive skill, recursion plus abstraction, conceiving the infinite as computable limit of a finite recursive operation. See, why I am repeating this? Trained minds, palm leaves, and night sky. Even now, such things are happening. You go and see how Hadoop was developed. You go and see how Python was developed. You go and see many of these computer the languages, packages, all these things are developed. All these things are developed by one person, two people sitting together during a vacation or after a work. It will be a very big eye opener. There is no reason, because what is actually missing is we don't notice. That is what samvedana, we don't notice, and we are not mentally ready. Unless we are mentally ready, we don't notice. That is the reason before samvedana, adhikara is coming. Adhikara, it is actually making our mind ready for certain thing. It is a prerequisite. So now let us come here. Vikrama operation, anuvritti and metha. Anuvritti, applying the same recursive operation, add the next term, reduce, repeat, through infinite iteration. The same rule carrying itself forward at every scale. Metha, holding multi-term chain simultaneously in working memory with no notation to offload to the trained mind is the computational device. And once again, samvedana, adhikara, etc. are applicable everywhere. So here I made a table that is a mathematics section. In this mathematics section, what was the real that tapas formation mechanism made that our ancestor for really do the invention, and what was the constraint and what was the result? Just to see here. Just to see here, Sulba Sutra, tri-domain naturalization, that is Samadhi, Sulba Sutra, no algebra and coordinates, that was a constraint. What was the result? Irrational geometry. Aryabhatta, AF spontaneous synthesis, Shrathartha, that was the tapas formation. No telescope, mathematical cosmology. Brahmagupta, it is Patapata, it is meta-linguistic awareness. No European tradition, constraint, structural algebra is the result. Mahaviracharya, AF cross-domain transfer, that was the tapas capability, and constraint, only aesthetic imperative, combinatronics. Now Kerala school, Kanapada naturalization, and constraint, there is no notation. They started writing infinite series and calculus. This is the type of the thing we developed here. This we need to understand. I am speaking this for the second or third time. Go to Wikipedia and see the page of list of inventors. In that you will see for the last century or last 150 years, how many Indians invented what. We just to go and see. Then compare with this. Then criticize Indian knowledge system. Then criticize. Actually, Indian knowledge system, when we proceed in the systematic way in which we are discussing here, it is going to change the destiny of the country. Now, now see here. Actually, we have less time, so that okay, this one I will tell you brief. If there is a good time at some other time, I will explain. The first mirror, aparigraha as production philosophy. The mathematics section just established a pattern. Find the irreducible minimum. Find the irreducible minimum. Strip everything else. Work with that alone. Neti applied to number, geometry, series, and grammar. Neti, not this. Here is the same cognitive operation applied to a production line. Taichi Ono, Toyota production system. It is written in his name, Taichi Ono. You know, What was his main thing? He invented 7 types of waste to be systematically eliminated. This is what the Toyota production system. And when I was in Japan, they always say that engineering is waste reduction. Engineering is waste reduction. As that sculpture was talking about his speaking about how he make the sculpture, what he was speaking, I see the shape inside the stone. I just remove what is unnecessary. Then real shape comes. Overproduction, waiting, unnecessary transport, over processing, excess inventory, unnecessary motion, defects, everything are waste. His central and most counterintuitive insight: inventory is not an asset, it is a symptom of failure. Why? Because inventory conceals problem rather than solving them. A buffer of stock hides a defective machine. A pipeline work in progress hides a broken process. Removes the buffer, the defect becomes visible. So that is what it is called. So Toyota production system, its main thing is the 8 types of waste. This is what actually coming from Indian knowledge system. I am not claiming that they came and they learned. At least we can say that this we were capable of developing this at that time, and the Japanese developed at some other time. But we were capable people. We are not less than any other countrymen. Just in time is aparigraha as industrial philosophy. You know, just in time. Just in time is aparigraha as industrial philosophy. Produce exactly what is needed, when it is needed, in the amount needed, nothing more, not as efficiency strategy, a clarity strategy. This is what aparigraha as. Now into the sky without instruments. Now let us say into the sky without instrument. Astronomy adds one constraint mathematics did not face. The data cannot be generated, only observed. Because our all celestial things are in the sky, there is nothing to generate. We can only observe and write. Their data cannot be generated, only observed. And the observation must be sustained across generation. Some of the thing will come and go today or this week or for 2 weeks. After 12 years, it will come again. So we have to, a person has to wait at least 2, 3, 12 years. And then he has to pass on this thing to somebody, a next generation. That person will look for 2, 3 more 12 years. Then they will come with a theory. This is what our ancestors did. There was nothing to see, because if there was an equipment like a telescope or something what we have now, this 12 days body will be visible for more number of months. But with their naked eye, they could not see that. This requires not just a trained individual, it requires a trained transmission system. Transmission system. Once again, oral tradition is coming here. Our tapas formed mind was not only a cognitive formation tool, it was the data storage and retrieval architecture for Indian astronomy. Without tapas, that Pata system, the eclipse could not have been predicted. Without the tapasa, Shravana, Manana, Nityasyasana, data could not survive the death of the observer. This is the serious issue here. This is one. Now let us see Vedanga Jyotisha and the eclipse prediction. Now, on day 1, named the astronomy achievement, eclipse prediction accurate to minutes, naked eye only for ritual timing. The cognitive skill named was pattern recognition across vast time. See, today's our objective is Vikrama. Vikrama means we are going beyond the step. Beyond the step. V means beyond. We transcend. And Krama means step. Vikrama. So that our first day, second day was tapas, and with that tapas formed mind, we are becoming Vikramas. We are becoming Vikramas. And tomorrow, it is with this Vikrama ability, we are going to We are going to be innovators. And what is that innovation technology of the ancient India? We are going to discuss that. And that we named as Pratibhā. And now this one, the today's question, how does a civilization sustain the attentional discipline required for multi-generational data collection? Nowhere in the world such a thing you can see. And then we are here sitting with no Nobel Prize, with no big achievement at all. As I was telling you yesterday, every Indian has got a smartphone. Most Indians change smartphone in 3 years, and we don't have any role in that. We are all speaking through some of the computer system. We don't have any role in the development of that. That is the reason our Indian currency falling. You know one thing special about Indian currency. Indian currency always falls only because the rest of the currencies they fluctuate. It is because from 1991 onwards, it is actually when knowledge economy flourished. We didn't have any knowledge to deliver because we didn't do this tapas formed mind. We didn't do this tapas form. Therefore, there is no innovation came from us. You please go and search because I am doing research on this. Therefore, this is what the Indian knowledge system to be applied, to be deployed in the exact way. Now the answer, the day 2 oral transmission system is the astronomical data infrastructure. Generations of data transfer has happened here. This is what Vedanga Jyotisha, year tracking, 5-year yuga cycle, lunar month calculation with the intercalary correction, Adhika Masa. You know Adhika Masa. 27 nakshatra lunar mansions mapped and named, Tithi system for precise ritual timing, eclipse prediction from Tithi, nakshatra and planetary position, data accumulated across centuries. Purpose, not scientific glory, ritual timing. The yajna must begin at the exact Tithi. Means actually ritual thing helped a lot for mathematics and astronomy. The Pata system and the astronomical record co-evolved. Please understand this. The Pata system and the astronomical record co-evolved. Why? Because of the generational data accumulation, each shaped by the requirements of the other. The astronomical observations were encoded in verse, transmitted through the Pata system, decoded by Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. And what was the cognitive skill required for this? Pattern extraction from very long data series. Please understand, data extraction from very long data series only possible with the generational transmission infrastructure. We need to understand at that time people used to live less number of years, so that even that oral tradition, Pada system, transmission of this, and someone after 12 years, one had to recollect that 12 years before that the particular celestial object behaved like this. Now let us see what was a Vikrama operation for this. Metha and Maryada. Why Metha? The oral transmission system is the astronomical instrument. The civilizations trained collective memory, carrying observational data across generations are precisely as text. Maryada, the ritual calendar deadline specified that eclipse prediction had to be accurate. Approximate was not acceptable when the yajna's validity depended on timing. Yajna's validity. Now you can see how sensitive it was. These 3 separate tapas mechanisms required simultaneously. Please understand this. Vikrama operation and this tapas formed mind. Oral transmission, pratyahara, that is voluntary attention selection, adhikara. These are the 3 tapas mechanisms required simultaneously for that Vedanga Jyotisha and the eclipse prediction. This is what the result of Indian knowledge system, not glorification, not victimization. So here the Aryabhata's hearsay. The question, when is it correct to contradict the most authoritative received wisdom of your civilization? on the basis of calculation alone. This is what Aryabhatta did. Now, let us say all calculations and everything, but he had the guts and the civilization had the broad-mindedness to receive it when it is correct, because he actually came with the calculation and he contested the existing belief. Now the Indian evidence, Aryabhatta 499 CE, the earth rotates on its axis. The star's apparent motion is our own motion reversed. The mainstream astronomical establishment opposed this. He held his position. Aryabhatta held his position. He was right. It was vindicated 1,000 years before Copernicus. This is what the thing. What was the cognitive skill? And what was the Vikrama operation, Viveka? What was the cognitive skill? The following mathematic necessity against received authority. See, we discussed many cognitive skills on day one. The Adhikara, motivational purity, plus Shastrartha, Veda, Vada orientation. The confidence to contradict established cosmology came not from arrogance, but from Adhikara's motivational formation. Please understand this. I did that. That's what intellectual confidence. Intellectual confidence. This is what he developed from Adhikara's motivation formation. The orientation of Vada, that is honest inquiry for truth. Nyaya Sutra 1.2.1. Rather than Jalpa arguing for victory or position defense. At that time, it was actually argument for truth. A practitioner whose ego is invested in social approval cannot sustain a heretical position under prolonged opposition. A practitioner who has been Adhikara formed can. That is what the importance of Indian knowledge system, building Adhikara. The more, okay, now let us go from here. Astronomy as purpose-driven science. Astronomy was not for hobby. It was actually purpose-driven. Indian astronomy was always embedded in purpose. Ritual timing, agricultural prediction, governance calendar. When observation serves a deadline, the yajna must begin at this tithi, this nakshatra, this conjunction. It requires a precision that pure intellectual curiosity often does not guarantee. Purpose creates urgency. Urgency creates precision. Precision reveals structure. Structure generates theory. This is the Indian innovation pipeline. This is the Indian innovation pipeline. And the purpose was not arbitrary. It was generated by Rana. The obligation to get this right because others depend on it. Please understand the value system. As I was telling you day before yesterday, in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Patanjali started with Bloom's affective. Patanjali started with the Yama, Niyama, because he wanted to create the mind first, value system first. It is not like the foreign, Western, starting Bloom's taxonomy with the cognitive remembering. How will somebody remember? What is the motivation to remember? Why should somebody even ready to listen to that? This is what across India, Kanyakumari to Kashmir, from Bhuj to or from Gujarat to Dibrugarh, this is what actually happening. Why students are not attending? That is what the thing, difference between starting from affective and starting from cognitive. We are still starting from cognitive, but Indian knowledge system starting from affective. This is the difference, attracting the student, convincing the student about the value and making it as a student's requirement to learn. Then we are pushing and we are pushing with the scare of examination. This is what the major difference here. So they therefore, Adhikara, motivational purity, that is service, not status, Rina awareness, this one. The astronomical practitioner was not producing knowledge for career advancement. The motivation was civilizational obligation. Adhikara's verification, of motivational orientation is what made this quality of sustained precision demanding work possible across generation. Once you go to Indian knowledge system in depth, or at least in the level in which I am speaking and my and this slides are made, you get carried away by that, because it is worth researching. There are many things to do research. We have put it in LMS. Many things which you can do research. You can do research. You can do project with the Indian knowledge system, because we have gone in depth. So that these things are given in LMS. I have time limitation. Therefore, you can refer to LMS and then you can get the details for doing research and doing projects with the learning with the Indian knowledge system. So here the important point which I really like is that this is what the Indian innovation pipeline, and the purpose was not arbitrary. It was generated by Rana. The obligation to get this right, because others depended on this. That is what our commitment. I read once again. Purpose creates urgency. From where purpose is coming? Samvedana. And from where Samvedana is coming? Adhikara. From where Adhikara is coming? Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, and how we are capable of all these things, because we have made human. This is what the chain when we are doing the reverse engineer. I repeat, purpose creates urgency. Urgency creates a precision. Precision reveals a structure. Structure generates theory. This is what innovation, Indian innovation pipeline according to Indian knowledge system. I repeat once again, purpose is seen by Samvedana. Samvedana is built by Adhikara. Adhikara is formed by Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga. And all this capability is built because in the beginning we were made human. If none of this chain is seen in our accreditation process, none of this chain is seen in syllabuses, none of this chain is seen in the way in which we teaching learning methodology or the assessment or assignment methodology. That is the problem. Just by saying like that, we have to change the system. Nothing is going to change. What we need is the material change. That is what Indian knowledge system actually look for. Now let us come to this. Astronomy without instrument, what it proves. I think we have got a very less time now, so that I go a little past what we were actually looking. Now, the Vikrama, what is Vikrama? People say that these are all we did, but what is Vikrama? Every single one of these achievements is the output of a specific tapas formation mechanism, encountering a specific material constraint. Name the mechanism, name the constraint, then tell me which of your students correctly has that formation and what your curriculum does to build it. This is what we need to build with the Indian knowledge system. Now we are coming to exceed Vikrama section C, grammar, because we have got only 10 minutes. I am sorry that I started a little bit late, because I will tell you the reason. I am here with the 3 internet connection. This plan A, plan B, plan C. Today, plan A failed, plan B failed, plan C failed. Now I am speaking to you with an internet connection, with a cell phones tethering, because all other things I do not know. I am speaking to you from Pune. Such a thing never experienced in my life here in Pune. I am staying here for more than 27 years, but I have never experienced this is the first time. My plan A failed, plan B failed, plan C failed. But fortunately, there's a plan D. So section, that was a delay. Sincere apologies from my side. Section C, grammar, logic, and linguistics of constraints. Now Panini, this is what the real record-breaking thing. Panini and Ashtatyayi, the tapas formation argument. This is what Panini, we have to, he is the Nobel Prize winner in that. 4,000 grammatical rules, sutras generating every grammatical Sanskrit utterance. 14 abstract phonemic matrices, the Shiva Sutras as the seed, uses zero morpheme rules, meta rules, rule ordering. These are all. What was constrained? No formal notation system, no printing press, no institutional infrastructure. What substituted? Two tapas formation mechanisms operating simultaneously. Now, what are them? It is Viveka, Anuvritti, and Maryada, Meta. You know one thing? Panini's capability is the only one place all four Vikrama mechanisms converge. I repeat, Vikrama's all four mechanisms, that is Viveka, Anuvritti, Maryada, and Meta, all four are converging only with one great man and his ability. He is Panini. All four operations converge here. And what is Viveka? Seeing generative rules beneath Sanskrit surface variation, he saw that. That is what Viveka. Anuvritti, the grammar's own recursive rule carryover principle is Anuvritti enacted in test. He felt that. Maryada, Maryada, the absence of notation specified compression as the only available form. Mehta, holding the entire grammar as one living cognitive object without paper. This is why Panini is the proof. There is not one operation, but all four simultaneously is at their apex. This is what the value of Indian knowledge system. This is what actually we need to learn from this. We are not trying to just repeat by seeing what Panini did and let us publish some paper on that. That is not the thing. The purpose of Indian knowledge system is what made Panini Panini. Like you making human. What made Panini Panini? What are all his abilities and how those abilities are built and how those things can be built in our students. This is what our objective. Now we have very less time. Panini's we will see later. Nyaya Darshana. Day one introduced the Nyaya 5-member syllogism. Logic developed under adversarial pressure. Day 2 added precision, 3 types of debate, Vada, Jalpa, Vidanda, classified not by content but by motivational state, objective. So today's Vikrama specific contribution, what constraint specified this precision? Nyaya Darshana, that is Aksapada Gautama, Nyaya Sutras, its purpose, win arguments, the constraint. So this is what Nyaya Darshana. Now it is Vaisesika. It is Kanada, Vaidesika's core proposition. Matter is composed of indivisible particles, Paramanu, beyond the atom, the irreducible unit. From first principles alone, if matter can be divided, it must eventually reach an invisible unit. There is an end. From there we cannot divide. That is called irreducible. That unit is Paramanu. All composites are aggregates of Paramanu. Properties of composites emerge from the properties and arrangements of their Paramanu. This was there in Indian knowledge system 2nd and 6th century BCE. Now this is what I have created this one. The logic of constraint, a section synthesis. Achievement, the samvedana, constraint, tapas formation, and what is the breakthrough. With the Panini, with the Nyaya Darshana, with the Vaisesika. This is the chart. You can see this thing on LMS. You can get it there. Now, logic constraint of universal principle. This is very interesting. Once again, to Toyota production system, there is a system called 5S. You can go to Wikipedia and see 5S. 5S is the basic foundation of Toyota production system or Japanese management. Interestingly, that has got the same similar thing in Indian knowledge system. For example, 5S term, it is Seri, Seiton, Seiso, Siketsu, Sitsuke. Its function, remove what does not belong. Siri is the basic, remove what does not belong. That is what exactly Patanjali Yoga Sutra 2.54, Pratyahara, withdraw from irrelevant objects. Seiton, set in order, arrange what remains for immediate use. Saucha, ordered environment as cognitive baseline. Patanjali Yoga Sutra 2.40. Seesaw shrine, eliminate contamination. Shaucha once again continued, purity of substrate. Yoga Sutra 2.40. In this way, you can almost all technology, almost all management framework. You go to Indian knowledge system and you see, you will find it there. You will find it there. Because of the time limitation, I am not able to speak. Now the once again, Mohenjo-daro and 5S practitioners, the third mirror, dependency discrimination as a project science. Now we are coming to the fourth one, synthesis and modern validation. What Vikrama demands of the modern faculty member? So here, what tapas and day built? Vikrama operation, what is a cognitive act? And Vikrama achievement, what it produced. So this is what everything, the tapas, it has got a related Vikrama operation, and it is coming then Vikrama achievement. So Vikrama, as we said, we were living, we were building so many things with the constraint. You have seen minimum 20 examples of how our ancestors in Indian knowledge system, how they built impossible things within constraint. Means with what you have, how you could succeed with what you have. Means that is what the exact thing of Vikrama. Succeed with what you have. Find a solution and become it. That is what tapas formed mind and Vikrama operations for Vikrama operation. And you have seen Indian innovation pipeline and how this combinedly, how this built things. These are all superhuman things the really Indian knowledge system built. So here this one, the four operations. Now the handover to Pratibhā. Today we were discussing about succeed with the constraint. Succeed in a constrained situation. Our first day was recognition. We understood what are all the key things, Wa gallery. We understood what was the real capabilities which built those Wa gallery. Second day, we established that how this civilization built people. They were the real material, how the system. And today, our discussion, Vikrama, how we transcend with the constraints. Tomorrow, we are going to speak Pratibhā. Pratibhā in the sense, with what we have, how our people built what others don't have. With what we have, how our people, our ancestors built things others don't have. That is what the Pratibhā. So tomorrow we are going to speak about Pratibhā. So this is totally about innovation in Indian system, and we are also going to speak how to do research with the Indian knowledge system. So with this, let me conclude today's talk, and I think we can have some time if anyone has got any clarification. If anyone has got any clarification, we can ask question. Please write it on chat box. Sending. Hmm? Hmm.
Don't forget to fill up the feedback form.
Dr. Rajiv Kumar's question, wonderful session. Okay, how this can be rolled back? This can be done only by determination. I think government is funding a lot with the for Indian knowledge system, so that so at least they can take special care, and then it is to be informed to government. Unless this is made official, this is made to some sort of certification, Indians are not going to follow this. See, here there is a question: at what stage it is to be incorporated. Let me tell you one thing. Each one of you can actually do one thing. The first thing of tapas formed mind, that is make human human. This make human human is one thing everyone can practice. It doesn't need any funding. It doesn't need anybody's approval. See, in a compliance era, this is what the question from Dr. Meenakshi was. In a compliance era, how do we incorporate these changes? See, one thing is that there are many private universities. I do not know why these private universities don't change. Private universities can implement many things like this, and they can differentiate. And differentiation is actually not a choice. Differentiation they must do, otherwise they are going to die. For example, you know, in Tamil Nadu, more than 200 engineering colleges didn't get any admission, and these universities, they do not know that they also can face the same situation. They must change and they must differentiate. This Indian knowledge system implementation, many of these things, it is going to be, it can be a very big differentiation, and this differentiation will have approval from the government. And this differentiation, once it is implemented, their parents, their friends, their siblings will immediately see the difference in that person within 6 months. Why don't autonomous colleges and private universities really take this as an opportunity? I wonder why they don't do that. So that was the answer to Dr. Meenakshi Wag. I hope she is from a university like this or an autonomous institution like this. I do not know. Very much true. NEP provided freedom to institution. If any institution is interested to differentiate, we are ready to support. We are always here to support. Charusmita Goswami, due to heavy rain, connection is poor. At least I am jealous of your rain because we are sitting in a place that is too hot. It is really heavy summer in Pune. Dr. Pavan Kumar sir, is there any reference book for all this theory? No, these are all with the big research. These are all gathered and consolidated. You know what? You go and see any Indian knowledge system book. Everything is glorifying. No one is doing any research on that. Therefore, that is the reason we held this program on Indian knowledge system. Because this is what the Indian knowledge system, applied Indian knowledge system for the AI era. Through this, we are developing students who are AI irreplaceable. Let any sort of AI come. These formed students will never fail to find job. They always remain relevant for the rest of their life. Okay, the thing is that there is no book in which what we are speaking. Therefore, we are putting the key elements in LMS. So there is no book available for this. So please go to LMS. So how things will be rolled back? This is what every university, every autonomous institution, and every teacher in the individual level have the choice. Tina Joss, madam, could you recommend any books or other sources? That is what, whatever is in Indian knowledge system, these are all these things. We have referred to more than 120 books on Indian knowledge system. Everything is speaking only about the glorification. And there is some part of religion. We have taken very special care that this is not, Indian knowledge system is actually not about religion. That is what here what we have spoken is exact points that will actually make us proud. Okay, I think there are no more questions. So Sijin sir, shall we wind up, or can you see that in YouTube? Is there any questions there?
No, sir, I don't have any more questions. I think we will end the session for today. Tomorrow will be our last session. That will be on regenerate a sacred obligation. We will start at the same time at 7 p.m.
Okay, thank you then. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh sir, for this wonderful session. We will see you again tomorrow at 7 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining this session. Thank you for your valuable time. We will start the session tomorrow at 7 p.m. itself. We will see you then. Have a pleasant evening.